So some genius at Netflix thought that it would be a great idea to make Cleopatra black. When Netflix decided to adapt a story of an African queen, excitement was no doubt at an all-time high in the boardroom. You see, to the geniuses at Netflix, Africa can only be seen as a black monolith. With pressure at an all-time high to meet diversity quotas and empower the right demographics in Hollywood, Netflix producers wasted no time in reimagining this one. In an abject lack of irony, the producers said, quote, "Her ethnicity is not the focus of Queen Cleopatra, but we did intentionally decide to depict her of mixed ethnicity to reflect theories about Cleopatra's possible Egyptian ancestry and the multicultural nature of ancient Egypt." Cleopatra producer Jada Pinkett Smith took some time off from dragging Will's cojones to explain the reasoning behind this brilliant decision. Quote, "We don't often get to see or hear stories about black queens, and that was really important for me, as well as for my daughter, and just for my community to be able to know these stories because there are tons of them. The sad part is that we don't have ready access to these historical women who were so powerful and were the backbones of African nations."
Shit!
It takes a special flavor of hubris to take historical stories that aren't about you and make them about your own issues. Sorry, Jada, perhaps you should spend more time entangling with historical books.
Different kind of entanglement.
Instead of entangling with Jaden's friends. Oh, and she wasn't the only one.
I imagine her to have curly hair like me and a similar skin color.
I remember my grandmother saying to me, "I don't care what they tell you in school, Cleopatra was black."
Say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
You see in the trailer, it's like, I don't care what they told you, but Cleopatra was black. Who's that woman? Why is African American people are telling my own history?
To put it mildly, Cleopatra has not been received well. It opened to an abysmal rating from audiences and even the critics for whom it was presumably made. The show was slammed by many Egyptians, historians, and pop culture critics.
Well, first of all, this is not a work of fiction. This is a documentary. This is a documentary. There's a huge difference. Cleopatra came from a Macedonian Greek origin. And the thing is, it's not about like the skin color. It's about how Hollywood is so culturally sensitive and they're so sensitive about all kinds of minorities. But when it comes to my people, we seem to be erased. It's about the continuous culture appropriation and falsification of history that has been done by what the so-called Afrocentrist movement.
Netflix was threatened with litigation for desecrating what many Egyptians cherish as a part of their history, African history. Africa is the most genetically and phenotypically diverse continent on the planet. While most people associate Africa with sub-Saharan Africans, who are predominantly black, demographics north of the Sahara couldn't be any more different. Morocco, Algeria, Libya, Tunisia, and Egypt have had a close relationship to Europe and the Middle East for millennia. Centuries of diplomatic and military campaigns back and forth between Southern Europe, North Africa, and Arabia left North Africa looking much more like its closest relations than the rest of Africa. Most, not all people in these regions look much more like Southern Europeans or Arabs to this day. Cleopatra was no exception. Being of Macedonian descent, Cleopatra has been depicted for centuries as pale-skinned with Mediterranean features. But in Hollywood, historical facts are no match for the identity politics of today, where approved diversity is progressive virtue. Casting Cleopatra as black makes perfect sense when you realize that you can shit out a mediocre show and hide behind the shield of diversity, calling anyone that slams your pathetic antics a racist. Doesn't matter if your actors will be subjected to a mixed barrage of genuine criticism and unwarranted vitriol, or that you might lose viewership. You scored your social credit and appeased all three people that cared to show up for this abomination. Netflix had a great opportunity to showcase a powerful woman that left her mark on history at a time when it was rare to do so, and they still can if they learn from this controversy. but something tells me that they will learn the wrong lessons and double down on the hubris that brought us Cleopatra.
Sheer fucking hubris.
YouTube is on a bit of a demonetization spree, and the relentless critic has not been spared. This channel has joined a list of channels that have recently felt the wrath of the overlords without warning.
First time.
I will figure out an appeal and provide an update as soon as I can. In the meantime, if you like what you see here, please consider subscribing to the Relentless Critic on Rumble. I have been considering different ways to support this channel and stay in touch with you all. Please keep an eye out for a Locos community in the future, and perhaps I'll get a Discord set up to get some relentless banter going. You stay tuned and stay cool.